T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. My life has value.
Good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Global Watchman News. My name is Lori Swan. Hope you guys are all doing well. If you are in the live chat, we do ask that you keep it family friendly. There will be moderators in there to make sure that we stay within the terms of service put forth to us by the platform we're utilizing tonight. If you are new to the channel, welcome. Take a minute to hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you know when we go live. So this is a special broadcast. We weren't planning on going live tonight, but we have our special guest back on the panel. First, I want to say, hey, Ernie.
How's it going, Lori?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's your old pal back again. One more again.
You can't take that. Put that back. Put that back. That is not yours.
Hey, you're the one who came out the hole.
What? You know what? You got to let me out every once in a while.
I told you I did earlier.
That's true. That's true. I was allowed to go live. We want to welcome to the panel tonight. We've got two special guests returning with us. We've got Big John and we've got Marcus KAISER. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello. Hello. And Ernie, it's your old real pal back again.
One more time.
On a Monday.
On a Monday.
It is, man. I thought it was Tuesday.
It's Monday.
These
It's
days,
Monday.
man.
Guys, we decided, all of us, we had a conversation. It was yesterday and today and everything, and we were talking. And John and I were talking, actually on the phone yesterday about a few things. John, you messaged me yesterday, reminding me that something is happening on the 11th. Why don't you try to fill us in on that?
Well, that Title 42 is going to be lifted, and everybody across the world is no longer going to have to rely on the cartels to come across the border.
What do you mean by that?
Well, they won't be deported.
Exactly. Now, Title 42 was issued by the Trump administration during the COVID pandemic, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes, pretty sure.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
So, yeah. So we got, what is Title 42 and what does it mean for the immigration in the southern border? It says President Joe Biden visited the U.S.-Mexican border on Sunday, finally, for the first time of his presidency amid controversy and backlash about the administration's allocation of resources to the southern border. The visit came days after announcement of a new restrictive policy that would essentially expand the immigration program referred to as Title 42, despite promising to end the program when he ran for office. Title 42 was created to address public health and social welfare grants the government ability to take emergency action in numerous ways, including to stop the introduction of communicable diseases. While the code has been in place for decades, it was used widely beginning in March of 2020 by the then administration of Donald Trump in order to regulate border crossings under the premise of increased COVID-19 precautions. So this is put in place and it ends on Friday. So basically everything that was put into place to turn them away and not make them welcome is going to be gone, right?
That's it.
Can we talk about how this is the first time Joe Biden has visited the U.S.-Mexico border since he became president?
Okay, first off, there probably isn't ice cream nearby. And secondly, you really want to let him run, walk freely. They may lose him. They could have lost him.
Well, if there's any semblance of him being a president, you would imagine him going to visit some of the pressing issues of the country.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen him skirt and dance away from East Palestine.
Yeah. All joking aside, he should have made this a priority, considering that March 11th is when Title 42 is going to be null and void, and that is what, Friday? Thursday? When is it? Hold on a second.
We're in May.
I think it's Thursday, yeah.
Thursday. That's Thursday. So Thursday, May 11th, this ends. And guys, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. It's scary what's coming. It's scary. There's close to 1 million people making their way towards our southern border right now.
And when you mean people, we're not just talking about Mexicans. We're talking about people from all of the Caribbean and the Gulf Coast. We're talking about people from China.
It's everywhere. Border Patrol is reporting at least 40 plus different nations a day. So it's basically anybody, any enemies. Our good buddies Serpenza, that report on the goings on in China. They report, hey, the middle class people that have enough money to get out of China are now fleeing China in droves. And of course, why bother to go through the lengthy and costly immigration process to properly get into America when you can just pay a few thousand? Because they already come from a culture in which having to bribe people to do something is pretty normal. Just saying that bribe people to carry them across into America. So it's some of everything, and it's some low lifes, and it's some middle/upper middle class. It's some of literally everything.
Yeah, we don't want anybody to say that those people over on Global Watchman News, they're racist and they're talking. No, look at guys. You know what?
You know what? You know what? I don't care what they say.
Well, there has to come
To
a
be
point.
honest,
Well, there has to come a point when people have to untie our hands and not censor us and allow us to say what the real problem is.
exactly. And you know what? I'm sick of this cancel culture. I'm sick of all this stuff that's been going on. I mean, we're getting invaded. The people who are trying to get into this country the right way, they're getting overlooked for these people.
That don't respect our laws, don't respect our
Exactly.
customs, aren't here to contribute to the economy. What are the banks reporting? Wasn't it, J.P. Morgan and stuff getting caught reporting or having to report what about $11 billion a month being sent from the USA to Mexico? And again, it's not illegal to do that. I'm just talking about the size and scale and scope of that they're using these, wire services to the people that come here aren't really enriching or benefiting the country. I mean, and I can't make that as an absolute statement. Of course I can't. But I'm saying there's a ton of money that leaves America every single month because the money that they do make, there's a large percentage of that. I don't know the exact number that's going back to support Mexico.
Yeah, definitely. We laugh. I know Hero would laugh about the whole purple hair and blue hair people, but those people are literally giving the orders to the Border Patrol. People with purple hair and blue hair, all these weirdos that are screaming and all these state houses and this whole thing, they are giving orders to the Border Patrol because that's who's in charge. And people laugh, but there are photos of them all on the border. These people are sent there by the administration to coordinate this invasion because this is the only way that they can start to take down the United States. This is the only way they can do it. The United Nations calls it replacement migration theory. This is easily the only way you can get combat age men across, and they're being given encrypted cell phones. I've seen them. I work in an area where people are already showing this on TikTok, like the ones that have to get on the bus and go somewhere, they leave their phone. These phones are literally encrypted phones to go to only to the certain phone. You can't do nothing else with them. Why are these combat age men having these phones when they come across the border?
Yeah, let's talk about the combat age men, guys, because this seems to be a huge problem that we've continuously seen over the past few years, not just here in the United States, but over in the UK and in France also, where these combat age men come over. They don't look like they're looking for asylum. They don't look like they've been tortured or starved or anything like that. They look pretty combat ready to start whatever it is they're being sent to start, right?
100%, because they did it to Europe. Literally the same plan that George Soros had all the Syrians and all the Middle Eastern countries go where? Landing in Greece, landing on European shores. Going over there, they sent all the combat age men from the Middle East into Europe. And what do you have going on in Europe? You can't do anything.
It's literally a reverse crusade,
Easily.
Right.
And they're using the entire world for the United States because that's on. Hitler had this plan. Hitler's plan was to drive the economies of South America into the drain, which were actually pretty good economies in those days. But, before most of the boys from Brazil took over, became presidents of all the different, Latin American countries. But the thing is, he wanted to drive the people into the United States as like a total infantry to overwhelm the United States with promises and hope of the fog of war. Because if what do these people come to America for? The spoils, it's for the taking. So this plan isn't old. It's being implemented.
Exactly. And I do want to make a point. Both Marcus and Big John are in Texas, so you guys are on a border state.
That's right.
Yeah. So I'm going to put up a video right now to talk about what these border communities are doing to prepare for this influx of people coming in possibly as early as Thursday.
The Biden administration is rushing to prepare for an increase in migrants at the southern border as the pandemic-era deportation policy known as Title 42 is set to end in a matter of days. An additional 1,500 U.S. troops are being sent to the U.S.-Mexico border next week to help with administrative tasks as local communities brace for the change. Laura Barone-Lopez has more on how one border city is preparing.
El Paso, Texas is a critical stop for thousands of migrants seeking asylum from Mexico and South and Central America. More than 5,000 migrants are in Customs and Border Patrol custody already in the El Paso sector, with more arriving every day. El Paso's mayor declared a humanitarian state of emergency ahead of the end of Title 42, a policy that's allowed for the immediate expulsion of millions of migrants. Joining us is Bishop Mark Seitz of the Catholic Diocese of El Paso. Bishop, thanks so much for joining us. Your church helps provide shelter for migrants that are seeking asylum at the U.S.-Mexico border. How is your diocese preparing for the end of Title 42?
Well, we're meeting with all of the people that are involved in this process, from the local counties and city officials to border enforcement agencies, to NGOs and others. We're really trying to come together with daily meetings to begin to address this constantly changing situation.
I talked to immigration lawyers and advocates today who said that the Biden administration just reached out to them about 2 days ago, reached out to organizations on the ground about how to plan for the lifting of Title 42. Do you feel as though you are receiving adequate guidance or assistance from federal authorities?
We've been concerned for quite a while that it seems to have been a fairly well-kept secret, whatever was being planned. And it certainly would have been helpful to know earlier. I do understand that a lot of things have been in the works, but it has left us feeling as though we really don't quite know what to prepare for.
And what are you hearing from El Paso residents on the U.S. side of the border as well as on the Mexico side as you prepare for more migrants to start crossing?
Well, you know, we're a place that is very familiar with the passage of people across the border. We're a border community, and by that I mean that everyone here has connections across the border, right? And so the presence of immigrants coming through is just part of our DNA in a certain way. And so there's a general openness and an empathy with those who are feeling forced to leave their homes and to come. I think that people here right now are very concerned about whether we can handle the numbers that are coming to us. And yes, there are concerns about whether that will have a negative impact on our community, but even more than that, whether these people who are in our midst are going to be adequately cared for.
We have other concerns, actually, don't we, guys?
Most definitely.
Absolutely.
Mark, which one of you guys said that about the crime?
I don't know. I think any of us could say it. I mean,
Yeah.
crime's through the roof. You know what?
Well, we're talking about before the broadcast as far as like what's been happening over the past
Somebody
few
said,
days.
I can't remember where, maybe it wasn't you guys I was talking to today, but somebody I was talking to said that you know, each one of, I thought it was you.
Oh, that was me. That was me. Yeah. So FBI statistics for illegal aliens coming here, not through the proper immigration process, they commit an average of 14 felonies. And of course, if 14 felonies is the average, that means that half of them commit more than 14 felonies. So it's massive lawlessness. They know it. The government knows it. I think what needs to be said as a foundational statement that everybody here knows, but just put it out here in words. This is a problem because they want it to be a problem. This is a problem because it's designed, it's engineered. This show has talked before about Saul Alinsky and his book, Rules for Radicals, and in there's the whole principle of overwhelm the system. And this is a prime example of intentionally overwhelming the system, cause problems, cause crisis, cause crime, cause disease, and basically any enemies of America, you can just deposit them wherever you want, spread them in the cities you want. They've done all the studies. These people that shouldn't be in power, that intend to destroy America, they know where there's going to be resistance. You know, they know that there's going to be resistance in Texas. They know that there's going to be resistance in certain places. And so they want to make sure that these places are overwhelmed. But to tell you the truth, it's really, these people mostly, I think, are just set up to be cannon fodder.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they're just destroy as much as they can. And they're going to come in thinking they're here to opportunistically loot and so on and so forth. I mean, even I've got a friend up in Virginia, and they have a decent number of people that come from Mexico to work in the fields and harvesting and crops and whatever. So even though it's obviously further north in Texas, but there's a good percentage of these people up there for that specific purpose, to be workers there. And they've noted a shift in the people, that they're just like demonically mean spirit, like looking at all the women like, you know, they're given half a chance they're going to rape them, you know.
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Well, it's just, they look at everything as we're here to take. We're here to take. And so broadening discussion just briefly, you know, we've got Muslims who call us the USA, the great Satan. And there could be some arguments made for that, to be sure. But how come if we're the great Satan, how come they all want to come over to the great Satan? If they really, truly believed we're the great Satan, they would avoid us all costs. And I think the principle is this. I'm just sharing my opinion. They don't want our culture. They don't want our rules, but they do want our stuff. Everything the whole world agrees on, China wants our stuff, even though they make half of it. Mexico wants our stuff, and the Muslims want our stuff. They want our property. They want our houses and cars and big TVs and all this kind of stuff.
It's opportunistic for them to come over here.
Exactly. If there was not an incentive, you know, it wouldn't be happening. There's there's the Babylon Bee, which is a brilliant satire site, you know, and it was talking about how all the liberal, and again, this is a joke, people, but it's making a point. Hey, you know, all these caravans of liberal Americans spotted, you know, in their boats, paddling their way to Venezuela so that they can go live in a socialist paradise. How come that's not happening? Right? All these liberals say they want a socialist paradise. Well, okay, there you go. There's one. Why don't you just go, you know?
Exactly.
How come none of them are going there? How come all these Hollywood celebs that said they hated America for this, that, and the other, or if Trump got elected or whatever?
Share to move to Jupiter. I'm still waiting on that.
It's true. It's true. Mark's exactly right. Just like the whole concept of the book Animal Farm. That's exactly a liberal. Exactly.
I think that the mainstream media is putting out there that Biden's sending 1,500 active military down there. I think he's trying to lull us into a sense of safety when doing that. But I want to make sure that people understand that those soldiers are not to deter them from coming over, but to process them through.
100%. I think I talked to you about this the other day over the phone, Lori. Because I don't trust anything the government does. And as far as what we have seen by now, none of us really should. And the fact that they're sending people down there is giving everybody a false sense of security to not prepare themselves for what's to come.
Exactly.
And the devil is designed to bring chaos onto this earth. And what better way than bringing all of the criminals and the military age men into this country covertly and aren't giving them cell phones. And we talked about it before the show. There's plenty of places where they can find arms.
Correct. Absolutely. And
You know-
what I find ironic about Title 42 is the fact that it was designed to keep this country from having an influx of sick people during COVID-19. And now that it's being lifted, I'm going to pull this Twitter up. It says tubercubuses headed up the tuberculosis highway to the United States. I made this video recently in Darien Province, Panama. Our friends in Panama have been infected and damaged by a U.S. invasion of America. Huge numbers of innocent families will suffer from these unvetted coughs, itches, and bloody stools headed through Central America and Mexico on crowded buses. Highway 1 is the new highway of death. Who will be patient zero for Ebola? American generals and admirals trade their souls like baseball cards. They demonstrate no respect for their own families, their country, or their empty souls. And now tonight, the buses roar through Central America and Mexico by the hundreds, day and night, fueling the invasion of war. Take a look at this. Is what's coming.
These are the buses heading north to the United States. 6 have already left. That's 7 that just left. This is 8. They've been going all day, and they go all day and night. That's 8. They're heading north to the United States. That's Highway 1 that they're on. This is bus number 9. We're in Darien Gap right now. Actually,
Now, who's running that? Those are the nicest buses ever.
So that's bus number.
Yeah, they aren't Greyhound buses, are they?
Well,
No,
not
they're
even
not.
school buses like that.
Those are
guy
custom
sitting
coach
down there.
Right.
buses.
Yeah, exactly.
For those of you who don't know
There's
who
number
has
10.
been covering this, Michael Yon, if I would recommend following him. He's been down in the Darien Gap for quite a while.
Yes, he's been in
And
the
he's just
trenches.
interviewing migrants and just documenting everything, such as what you're seeing here tonight. And there's a lot of sterling information that he's gathering from those migrants too, as far as like why they're moving in through the Darien Gap, up through Panama, into Mexico, up through here.
Michael Yon also in the 80s used to do a lot of covert shit
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's true.
in the same area. That's why he knows it so well.
Nice. Okay, let's listen to this because then I'm going to pull up another one he's got showing the bridge.
And 11 is behind it. North to America. Unvetted people, huge numbers of Chinese, many people from all over the world, including sponsors of terrorism. China's been crystal clear that they plan to replace the world with Chinese people. Okay, here's more. They just keep on going. Day and night. Day and night. The border is not closed. It's a lie that the border is closed down here.
Okay, let's go out of this one. And go into his other one. Where is he? I lost him. Uh-oh. Hold on a minute. What the heck? Cancel. There we go. Michael Yon. All right, here we go. Okay. This says now U.S. has about 2,500 aliens in custody, nearly 10,000 actual aliens encounters yesterday, and per day more than 90% will be released. Yesterday, 71% were single, adult, males, mostly 18 to 40 years old Venezuelan. And he shows a picture, and I want to put this picture up there because take a look at this. This says a lot, doesn't it, guys?
Oh, easily. That's people can say, "Oh, Red Dawn will never happen." Yeah, okay.
Exactly. And, when we're talking about, people coming over here, we're talking about, diseases. We're talking about tuberculosis. He mentioned Ebola. I mean, we're talking opening up our borders to and what does this say? This says now if we start another patient zero with who knows what is that going to do to us as a country again?
And also, many of them have parasites, different kind of parasites. And these are parasites that are not common here in America. So it means that our medical system doesn't know how to deal with them, is not used to treating them, doesn't have the proper supplies and drugs on hand. Again, it's another way to overwhelm the system. And it's taking the compassion of Americans. And listen, we're not wonderful, we're not perfect, we can be greedy and all the rest of it, but it's taking the compassion that somehow, for some reason, we're magically supposed to take care of the rest of the world's needs and weaponizing it against us. So if anyone doesn't like it or disagrees or thinks we don't owe them all our services, then we can be criticized as uncompassionate and we're haters and mean and so on and so forth. But this whole medical aspect, yes, Lori, is just another way to completely overwhelm the system, and again take the lives of many more Americans through disease and spreading parasites and on and on and on.
We can also add to the amount of drugs being infiltrating our border and coming into our country. Look at the spike of fentanyl overdoses in recent memory. And there's new different variants of fentanyl that's even more deadly that's coming from Mexico.
That's right. And I've looked into, the cartels, the Mexican cartels and the fentanyl, and it's manufactured in China, then comes through Mexico, up through Mexico into the USA. Basically, that's the super simple version of it. However, there's so much profit being lost by Mexico having to get their fentanyl sourced in China in the first place. Mexico has been working hard for the past 2 years to produce their own fentanyl. So again, we've got it. There's some really complex relationships going on. I watched another documentary of I wasn't quite aware of all the codependency going on now between America and Mexico. In other words, because the labor is so cheap, because we can conduct manufacturing cheap, and because even Mexico was allowed to open plants here and they were given tax breaks and all of this sort of thing, if there is some kind of a truly closed border or a truly openly stated adversarial relationship between USA and Mexico, both nations actually get hurt. I mean, they get hurt by having the relationship, but they also get hurt by not having the relationship because so much of our manufacturing now is in Mexico. We talk about how much China manufactures everything, and that's very much true, but so much of our automobile plants and things like that it's right along that border area. So it can technically be made in Mexico or technically be made in the USA. So people can live in the USA and just drive across the border to go manufacture their stuff in Mexico and vice versa.
Right.
There's tons of commerce, and I was not aware of how huge this was. And it's all because of taxes and incentives and labors, and you don't have to unionize and give them the same rights that you would if that manufacturing was going on in the USA. So it's all about the money.
Absolutely. You can have a sweatshop down there and kids, working for pennies for an hour, to make the goods. Here is another Michael Young says, scabies, lice, tuberculosis, none of the millions of alien invaders are being screened for scabies, typhus, STDs, tuberculosis, or anything. Anything. They're not being screened for anything. I want to ask you guys a question. The United States, people can sit up here and they can say, you know what? The United States, people deserve to come here. If they want to come here, they should be allowed to come here. We should open up our borders. We should be able, people should be able to come. It says right on the Statue of Liberty, give me your tired, your poor, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free. I'm going to ask you a question. Why is it that the most guarded border in the world is between North Korea and South Korea. Nobody bats an eye. Nobody says anything to South Korea. Nobody says anything to North Korea. They can close up their borders, but yet when we do, we're the bad guys.
Because they're out to destroy the West, not out to destroy North Korea. Exactly. It's a great point. It's completely, utterly, blatantly hypocritical. It's such a double standard. But now these days, I'm sorry, you have a lot of black people saying, you can say anything to white people because it's impossible for black people to be racist, right? And then that's just one example. You can pick other races, but suddenly it's okay to invade America, but it's not okay to invade any other nation. We're giving over $100 billion to Ukraine to defend its border against invasion, while we're throwing wide our own. And that's back to the point. The only thing that makes sense and the truth of the matter underlying it is they want this destruction. They want this system to be overwhelmed. They want, and it's incentivized to draw all these people here. If all the incentives went away, the people would go away as well. So it's a perfect storm because it's designed to be a perfect storm. And if people could just realize that, so much of these other treasonous acts by our fake leaders would be, it makes sense, and it only makes sense in the light of realizing this fundamental truth.
Exactly. John, yesterday you sent me a message. You were talking about MS-13. These are MS-13 gang members that are coming over in these caravans, aren't they?
There's a lot of them. For years, starting like in 2011 and mainly like in 2014, 2015, they were releasing them from prisons in El Salvador and Honduras because people in Central America, military, it's not ordained to have to join, but civilians have as much training if they want it as an actual force. But the Soviets have so much, like leadership there, and they help them out. Like, these people know about Soviet weaponry.
Uh-huh.
And MS-13 have been used as hitmen. It even came out, a year ago or so, that MS-13 was used to kill Seth Rich because they're just untraceable.
Right.
Big John, can you do me a favor? Can you give a 5,000-foot overview of what MS-13 actually is?
I'd like to actually give just a little bit of context, and then Big John can add to that, because I was trying to understand the situation myself.
Before you guys continue, not to interrupt you, I just want to make sure that people know we're on the screen right now. I'm playing this. Was a view today in Brownville, Texas.
Wow.
This is looking over the border wall. So go ahead and continue. Wow. I'm sorry.
So we had, lots of drugs and marijuana and cocaine and stuff being grown and manufactured in Mexico and then to bring over. We had the CIA getting heavily involved. There's this quote unquote, under Nancy Reagan and so forth, a war on drugs. And we've got the CIA getting heavily involved in this dual role, ostensibly combating the drug issue into the United States, but really co-opting it and taking it over to where they make the money so they can use that money to fund their black projects, black ops, underground bunkers, and so on and so forth. So as a result of these Mexican cartels and drug families having to fight against the CIA to maintain control of their operations, there's a real shift that happened back in those Reagan years, where all the cartels really stepped it up and they became militarized. So now you've got people, wearing body armor, using much more heavy duty weapons, machine guns mounted on trucks, helicopters and whatever. So it's a reaction against our trying to, stamp them out with superior firepower. Well, they just leveled up. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry. I thought I lost internet. Sorry, my fault.
Okay. So it created a real shift and you're talking about the organization of these people, and you're talking about the training of these people and all of that. They started running this much more like an American corporation and much more like a serious business operation than just the traditional family, mafioso type business. Is that your understanding, Big John?
Yes, definitely. Yep. They had to step their game up to battle the CIA, which is literally overpowering to any. I mean, CIA obviously has their hands in every revolution, false flag, whatever, all across the world. But I think they've gotten I think the cartels have gotten their stuff together, and actually, kind of rose above. That's why they're so powerful now, to where you have to negotiate with them.
Right. My point is now it's more like fighting a small army, with command and control structures,
exactly.
Higher communication structures. And you even talked about these encrypted cell phones. Now they're flying drones over our border to see where our border patrol isn't, so that they can get up to the second information as they're sneaking their people across, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's not the same old thing that I think and I think a lot of other Americans are. Well, we're a first world nation and they're not a first world nation, so there's no real contest here. Well, okay, we're bigger, we've got more money, but they've got a ton of money and they've geared up just like a military would.
Yeah, exactly.
Big John, militarily, because that's your mindset when you talk about these things. Militarily, what is your take on what's going to happen on Thursday? Because I mean, the military that's being sent there, the 1,500 active duty troops are being sent there, are just for clerical. They're just to facilitate them coming in, not turning them away. Right? So
yeah, definitely. No, that's not going to be any kind of deterrence.
Well, from a military standpoint, what's your take on that? What's going to happen Thursday?
I'm pretty sure they'll just, storm. I think the whole thing is like it's been happening, obviously, but I think it's the start of a program to start putting, these attacks. Obviously, we're getting to next that happened this weekend. I think they're going to start have enough attacks with these people coming in, or fifth column forces, basically, who are already here, to implement on every TV, just like they show that little girl at the mall with her, head blown off. I think they're going to show that, where it's going to be in abundance. It's going to happen everywhere, and they're going to run a psyop, just like Eric Holder wanted to with Fast and Furious, to show every American that you owning a weapon is bad. And I'm afraid to say that how crazy that sounds, it's going to work.
And my information tells me that, yes, it's going to be another, predictions about the future. There's always some, level of inaccuracy. It never goes quite like people think it will. But my information says we're going to have tons of smaller terrorist attacks all over. And they're going to be so randomized that we can't predict it. It'll be at a football game here, a baseball game there, a mall here, and so forth. And mostly these will be smaller attacks like you might have seen in the past. A cafe in Jerusalem gets blown up or something like that.
Yes.
But the net effect.
John and I had that conversation yesterday when I said that I had already told my husband that I planned on buying all my groceries remotely, because of the fact that I don't trust the stores. I don't trust the restaurants. I don't trust the things here. This is what is known as a constitutional sheriff, is up on the screen right now. His name is Mark Lamb. He's running for Senate. I want you guys to take a listen. I got two things I'm going to play for you guys. Take a listen.
Sheriff Lamb here. So truth is becoming harder and harder to find, especially from our politicians in the media. So I wanted to give you some truth today, a little truth bomb. Joe Biden recently announced he's sending 1,500 troops to the border. While I applaud him sending that, I want the American people to understand that this is not to protect our border, to keep people from coming into this country illegally. Those 1,500 soldiers will be there to process people into this country a lot faster, so that you, the American people, don't realize what a disaster this border crisis is. And that is the truth. If you want more truth, make sure you come follow me at sherifflamfordsenate.com and make sure you support us today. God bless and stay safe.
You know, Lori, your intro to that, I'm familiar with what it is, but remind me what that's from. Like, you know, give us our steel belted radials and all that. What's that from again?
That's from the TV movie Network.
And as I was listening to it again, I've heard it so many times, but now I was listening with a little bit different ears today, and I'm going, oh my gosh, how true it is. This is coming more and more true. Everything that was said there in that intro is even more true, so much more true than when that was put out.
You know, people ask me about our intro, and when I found that, I did do a short edit. I took out. He does say
yes.
I did take that edit out, but the rest of it, it doesn't matter if we were 10 years ago playing it or 20 years in the future. I think it's still going to be relevant. It's going to be, very timely. And it's true. I mean, every single word of it is true. Everybody asks me, don't ever change it. Don't worry, guys. Our bumper music's not going anywhere.
Well, it talks about our lives shrink down and we retreat inside to our little familiar homes and we say, just leave me alone. And it's what you said. Hey, I'm less inclined to even go to the grocery store anymore. I'm going to have them come to me. And so the net effect of all these little terrorist attacks is going to be a lockdown of America without calling it a lockdown. People are going to self-lockdown because it's literally not safe, or every little attack will get played, like in 9/11 was, 10,000 times on the media to completely, utterly hype up and capitalize on the fear. So we're going to be kind of locked down to that degree and more isolated. And unfortunately, I think we're going to be more easily controlled as a result. And I think that that's their overall goal.
Just like when they kept showing the children coming out of that daycare center on Oklahoma City bombing, everybody hated militias within 3 days.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
For years.
There's been a lot of things over the years that have villainized militia, from Oklahoma City bombing to the Bundy standoff to Malheur. There's been a lot of things, to January 6th. There's been a lot of things designed to vilify the militia when, like the Second Amendment, it's one of our rights to have.
It is. And it all goes hand in hand. All people coming across the border is exactly related to the Second Amendment. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
They're just like Mark said, they're going to have so many attacks here and there, and they're just going to put, even they're doing it right now, they're saying, oh, well, he was Hispanic, but you know what? He's a white supremacist.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that one right after this. I've got that stuff pulled up to talk about because I think that's quite interesting too. They're trying to twist the narrative for the recent tragedy. Let's listen to one more thing with Mark Lamb, and he talks about the southern border again.
Have an open border, despite the fact that those words have never been used by the Biden administration.
No, they didn't have to use those words. They know they're better. They're wordsmiths in this administration. They do everything they can to avoid saying, don't come. They shouldn't come here. It's dangerous. Women are being raped. Children are being raped and used as pawns. Fentanyl is pouring into this country, killing American lives every day. America needs to wake up because we are being invaded. Look at these videos right now. And so kudos to Mark and Ted Nugent and great Americans that are standing up and saying, we've had enough. We need all the other Americans to wake up. Arizonans are tired of it, which is why I've thrown my hat into the U.S. Senate race here in Arizona, because we've got to have a proven conservative fighter that's going to stand up and tell this government, enough's enough. You need to start doing your job.
Yeah. It's interesting what Jason said is that it's supposed to be a whole of government approach to try to deal with this problem, but he's not seeing all of these different agencies that are supposed to be out there trying to help the Border Patrol and trying to help the folks down in Texas. And speaking of Texas, they're looking at taking a very unusual move, Mark Meckler. The Trafalgar Group just did a poll asking people if they supported, and this is a nationwide poll, if you supported the Texas proposal to create an agency empowered to deal with the state's border crisis. So basically creating their own border patrol. The numbers were pretty staggering. 62.3% said, yeah, Texas, if the federal government isn't going to do it, these states like Texas should go ahead and do it as well. Your response to that?
Yeah, I think that's true. You see the national support for it. Support in Texas would be even higher than that. We have a bill that just came out of committee in the House last night, HB 20, House Bill 20, creates a border protection unit. It is under the direct command of the governor. He'll choose the chief of that unit. And their job specifically is to repel the invasion. And make no mistake, there's an invasion going on.
And Sheriff, we're just about out of time, but last comments for you.
Yeah, we just had a group of 53 women and children we caught the other day when I was on my helicopter working with Border Patrol. We had a pursuit involving 3 vehicles in one of our highways where 40 people bailed out of those 3 vehicles. This is what we deal with every day. We need the government to stand up. And I want Americans to come support me at Sheriff Land.
Okay. It's literally an invasion, completely and utterly, isn't it, guys? An illegal invasion, because now they're being allowed to come in. They're being allowed to come in unvetted, unsubstantiated, not medically cleared. Like Marcus said at the beginning of the show, an outrageous number end up being convicted of felonies. I mean, we're talking about not only a pandemic when it comes to disease and pestilence. We're talking about a drug infestation, or a drug pandemic, and we're also talking about violence increasing.
Lori, people tend to forget. Does everybody remember when all the Afghanistan combat age men were being brought over here?
Yes.
You know where they're at, right? They never left. They're still there till this day. They're on Fort Bliss, Texas.
Wow.
In El Paso. They never went anywhere. Fort Bliss soldiers literally live in the hotels outside of the base. That's fact. And all the Afghanistan men are inside. They're in the base. They're in the housing on post. They're in the larger buildings, the bays, old motor pools. They're in there. All these, they never went nowhere. I wonder why you have all those men from Afghanistan who specialize in Stinger missile technology, and Fort Bliss is home of the ADA, Air Defense Artillery.
Wow.
That's these guys growing up. They're 8 years old. They're putting in the battery cooling units on a Stinger missile. They know what they're doing.
Unfortunately, I think, at least the south half of Texas is pretty much screwed simply because of the massive numbers. I would love to say something more positive, but, if it's 10,000 people, we're set up to deal with that. If it's 200,000 people a day,
yeah,
there's nothing set up to handle that. Now, Texas has its own army, and we have a National Guard. But I haven't heard anything about the Texas Army. Do you know anything there, Big John?
I'm sure they have. I know they have like little units, little militia units here and there. But being that in the last few months, if not a year, that you can get in so much trouble if you end up engaging, someone coming across the border who is armed, because they'll go after you. That's why all these district attorneys now are like, you can't defend yourself. You'll be arrested for murder.
Well, so that's you're saying it's basically like the government in Mexico already is now, that the bad guys are in control and they just have their puppets that pretend to be the mayor of this town and that town, and basically the cartels tell them what they can and can't do.
100%.
And there's not much they can do about it because the cartels have such superior firepower. And, you'll magically get disappeared or shot or gunned down, or something horrible will happen to you and your family if you don't do whatever the criminals in charge tell you to do.
How far up does it go from the border? I mean, how far of a reach do these cartels have
Oh, they got a lot of reach.
These local governments.
I mean, I believe that aren't they controlled by the CIA?
A lot of it,
it's yes and no.
Yeah.
Again,
It's just they have
you got your two factions. You know, some are, some aren't. You know, and the two factions that they have, same as you know, other warring factions in other countries. You know, there's usually two, and they're backed by different entities.
It's just that most people who are in charge in these border towns get to talk. It's just people aren't prepared on that level. Here's what I'm trying to say. If somebody walked up to you and you have your, you know, you're just a regular old person and you have your, you know, your favorite dog with you and you're in the park, if somebody walks up and says, you know, you're going to do this, no, well, then they just shoot your dog in the head. People aren't ready for that.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like people aren't ready for that level. That's what the real world is. I'm not, you know, I'm not an expert, but I'm gonna tell you, I know a lot about people, about, you know, seeing people think that they're tough, and something happens to them, and it's like, well, this is the real world now. You know, it's like I'm not a tough guy. You know, I try to negotiate. I love every human, but I mean, you know, you put me in the corner, I probably will defeat you. But the thing is just people, we're just in a good society. Like Marcus said, we're Americans. We want to help. I used to work on the border years ago, and I would leave anything I could for the man camp that nobody really ate. You know, it wasn't leftovers, but it was stuff that nobody wanted, and I would leave it for the immigrants. And it's like people if they're trying to escape something, to walk across the wastelands of South Texas, you're leaving something scary behind. I know that about people. Nobody's going to walk across the desert with, you know, these damn ass rattlesnakes.
You know what, and John, you're absolutely right. I've lived in Arizona. I've lived in Phoenix. I've been friends with border patrols that work the patrol down by you know, where was the one? Yuma. A couple of them in Yuma, down in Douglas, and you know, when you see and you hear these grown men crying, saying, you know, we found the bodies of so many people, men, women, and children that didn't make the trek, you know, through the desert. You know, there some of them really are escaping, you know, crises, but to have combat ready males who are not, they're not escaping anything. They're coming here for a reason, and whether it's you know, to,
and that's 90% of them. Let's say this is 90% of the people. It's not 100%, but 90%. They're not peaceful dreamers. They're none of these narratives Democrats or other politicians are trying to float.
Right, they're not seeking asylum or, you know, political asylum or anything, guys. I live in a what is those cities called? I live in a sanctuary city, and you know, a lot of those people are going to end up in my city, and you know, our crime rate, guys. You know what? Every weekend, we have a mass shooting in Chicago, and nobody bats an eye about it. But these are going to continue, and when people like us sit here and talk about it, you've got other people, you know, immediately saying you're a racist, you're a bigot, you have no heart, you don't understand these people. I say to you guys, you open up your house to one of these
how many people were welcomed into Martha's Vineyard not very long ago? Remember that?
Exactly. Let's talk about this tragedy that happened not far from you.
Yeah.
9 dead and 3 in critical condition after mass shooting at the Texas Outlet Mall. Guys, excuse me. I saw the most horrific pictures I think I've ever seen of any shooting. And I have covered a lot of shootings. And the pictures that I saw of the bodies piled up on one another was heart-wrenching.
That's the thing, Lori. That's every day in Mexico. Every day.
Right.
They got brains. Those are scenes from the initial Iraq invasion. Bodies, brains, eyeballs. I mean, whatever. But that's Mexico every day. That's just hell. That's New Orleans every day.
Well, and to draw some points that have already been said, America's been raised on a very high dose of violence through Hollywood TV shows and all of this stuff. However, there's this disassociation that's happening at the very same time. It's couched as entertainment, or it's, Bruce Willis versus the bad guys or whatever. So we're used to seeing lots of guns because it's sensational, but it's always only on that screen, and we can turn that off anytime we want. And now we won't be able to do that. And as you said, we're not prepared to handle actual violence. We're only interested in TV Hollywood violence, which we consume a lot of. But when it's for real, yeah, a lot of people are just going to freak out. They're going to cower. Government, come save me. I'll give up my freedom. Just do something.
Exactly. That's the whole plan of it, is to get, they got to get them weapons. They got to get them.
And it seems like every single time there's a mass shooting like this, two words end up coming up, and that is white supremacist. Up on the screen, you're going to see the shooter at the Dallas Mall. Guys, make it make sense to me. How is he a white supremacist?
Well, that's the thing. They're spinning it now that he is. They say that any race can be a white supremacist all of a sudden.
All of a sudden, huh?
It's all over The View. It's all over all these shows. They already have their paperwork ready to go.
By the sheer definition of alone, white supremacy. No.
So crazy.
Please make it make sense to me, because they cannot spin it to make
the only way it makes sense is through this mind control operation, right? Just in the same way that now magically men can have babies and periods and all of this stuff too. So now being a white supremacist white is not really a race, it's just a mindset, and things like that, right? Just like being a woman is just something that you identify with. Otherwise, you're just one of those old-fashioned birthing units. But now
I'm going to be as politically correct as possible.
Yeah.
These people are stupid.
Yeah.
I would like to know.
That's my politically
correct. I mean,
right
it's not just stupid, it's weaponized stupidity. So yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Look at the thing look at the transgender that shot the kids at the Christian school. They know nothing about her, right? Or him, whatever it was. They don't know anything. But now this guy shoots up a mall. 3 hours later, they have all his tattoos. They have all his writings, his books, and everything he's ever done in his life.
Almost like they knew and had it prepared. And
you know what I mean? Exactly. It's like, isn't that crazy?
How are they? Yeah.
They have all his writings from when he was second grade. Like, I don't know. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
It's just that's just amazing to me how they do that.
And there's been a word that I haven't heard too many people mention in the last several years, and that's the two words sleeper cells.
Yeah, well, yeah, they really don't want to bring that up. Even like the word fifth column forces, they don't want to, like, people investigating what that exactly is, because back in 2014 on to 2016, when you had they were using all the veterans. And they were using the GS4 and they were using the Muslims to do all these mass shootings. They didn't have a face to cover like all these people. They were using the term sovereign citizen.
That alone is not even possible. You can't be sovereign and a citizen. So.
Exactly. So they were using that, but people don't know. They're like, oh, it's a sovereign citizen, because what would you hear over and over? Sovereign citizen, sovereign citizen, sovereign citizen, sovereign citizen. Right. And then they were saying how all the Dallas shooter, the Baton Rouge shooter, former veterans, no, but they're just, sovereign citizens. And then the Muslims in San Bernardino shut the office party. Oh, they were sovereign citizens. It's like, well, so they're a sovereign citizen Islam? What is that?
Right.
Well, let's just say, why does this channel even exist? And Lori could give multiple answers to it, but it exists because our actual media and mainstream media is completely infiltrated, subverted, and weaponized. If our mainstream media was telling you the truth, Lori couldn't have any of these shows. Could it be like, Why are you talking about this? We already know
Yeah,
this.
there wouldn't be
The
any
media has told us the truth. It's only because the media is a weapon in league with the enemies of America that this kind of channel needs to exist to talk about the things that they don't want us talking about.
And the problem
Well,
with that
I
is,
mean,
like,
that's why you're seeing a lot of mainstream media outlets are starting to fall. I mean, we
Right.
look at CNN, we're looking at Fox News, CNBC, all those major news corporations are starting to fall because people in general, as a society as a whole, are starting to uncover their BS, and they're tired of it. To be honest,
It's
with
not
you.
falling, Ernie. It's not falling. It's they're getting rid of the people who have the truth to say, and that this is another part of it. You're
people
going to
like
start
Tucker
seeing,
Carlson. People
yeah,
like people like Tucker.
exactly. Here's the thing too. Whether people think that Don Lemon being let go was like some kind of a savory thing or whatever, here's the thing: you couldn't control his attitude neither.
No.
So now they're going to implement where it's like there's really Operation Mockingbird, where there's going to be no kind of like alternative theory. It's going to be straight whatever the hell the CIA says to say.
Exactly. And it's going to get harder for channels like ours to continue to bring you the truth as they start cracking down. You know, if we're gonna watch the mainstream media have to go straight across the board with one directive, they're definitely going to come after people like us and to silence us as well.
Well, let me throw another element into the mix where we are today, middle-ish of 2023. Used to be, you could trust a photo. Now photos can be photoshopped and manipulated so much that they can be called into question. But okay, but we got video. If you've got video of something, then, that's too hard to mess with. So that video has to be valid. Well, now with the technology, we have the video editing and, pausing for dramatic effect, the artificial intelligence ability to make both images and to manipulate video. Anything could be shown, right? Which is it? Brave New World? No, it's is it Brave New World? Yeah, it's Brave New World, which they had this imaginary war going on, this continual war going on, with footage. And there was no war going on, and they just played this complete 100% fake footage, and everybody's involved in this, us against them. So with AI and deep fake technology, you think you can tell the difference between it now? Well, if you can, which I doubt, but you're about to not be able to. And even somebody deals in professional photos that I deal in, you're not going to be able to tell really soon. And so the media can put anything and everything that they want to put on that screen.
Right.
They can show whatever race. They can show any person saying anything. They can, as unreal and as much as they lie today, it's about to go through the roof. And a lot of people are waking up and go, this is all manipulation. I'm out of here. But that's not everybody. Go ahead.
We also got to add on to the fact with AI is now they can control the voice and their mannerisms.
Exactly.
As if they're a real person. I mean, Joe Rogan had to put a cease and desist out against a company who used him to market their product, and it sounded exactly like Joe Rogan with his mannerisms, his vernacular, his cadence, everything.
And people say who's had their voice digitally created by these AI companies. My wife can't even tell that it's not me, So, there's literally no way for the citizen to know. And so you've either got to be having discernment from God as to what's true or false, or you're just completely awash in the confusion. And they want to create this confusion where we don't know what's real anymore. Just like so many times when they do an attack, they're also doing a drill at the same time. So it's real, but it's not real. It's an attack, but it's not an attack. And it's this confusion that keeps us immobilized and unsure how to act. And so meanwhile, while we're unsure how to act and to respond, do we get mad at them? Do they blah, 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 blah? Maybe they were a white supremacist, even though they weren't. Well, I don't know, and that doubt that they install in is a mental tactic, a mind game against us. It's fifth generational warfare, so that we're all hesitant and confusion while they're continuing to move their agendas forward.
They're keeping us off kilter. They're keeping us. They're keeping us
exactly.
Easily.
Very easily. Yeah.
So walking through a minefield, like where do I put my foot next?
Exactly. So, I mean, it's sad when you can't even believe, videos that are shown. Guys, the other day, I put it up on my my Facebook, and we were, I guess, a couple of us were talking about, I think, Marcus, you got in on the conversation as well. So did Joy Pugh. Apparently, and I'm going to use air quotes here, the Grim Reaper showed up at the coronation.
So this was, I'm jumping right in. This was an actual literal druid. That's who that was. That was a druid doing that, and they're giving a signal.
Right. So
of the death. This was not just a person in costume or somebody doing it for effect.
Wait, because you guys got to remember, okay, the most powerful man on earth right now is getting coronated in Westminster Abbey. The security alone around that place would not allow somebody in a costume to be that close to the entrance of the Abbey. Okay, you got to understand that Westminster Abbey and the places there, the Queen Elizabeth was a druid. She had their family was druids. So the fact that this guy was dressed in a druid's cloak, being there, is not really out of character for that, was it?
And allowed to be seen. So this is
allowed to be seen.
This is a signal. This is sending a signal to their fellow occultists that, hey, we're in charge now. This is our time. Solidarity, rise up, yada, yada, yada.
The dawn of the new day. Jordan Maxwell. Look him up. Everybody out there, I know y'all know about him.
Oh, we love Jordan. Rest in peace, Jordan Maxwell. Absolutely. Well, guys, I really want to thank you for joining us tonight. Really good conversation. We brought a lot of things to the table, a lot of information, and I really want to thank you. Can we final thoughts from you, Mark? Let's go with John first.
Yeah.
Let's go with John.
Final thoughts for me is just be aware of your surroundings.
Right.
If you start seeing these small terror attacks or just any kind of random shootings or whatever, just be wary. There's not a whole lot that you can actually do. I'm not going to say what can you do, because really ain't nothing. It's more of a be a watchman. It's just going to tell you that it's just with discernment, it's going to be more and more and more.
Mm-hmm.
And just don't fall for it with turning in. You don't even have to like weapons. Just know that if you see a whole gun confiscation program going on, or it's repealed or whatever, just know that that's the time to try to make you some kind of a community and get to know your neighbor if you don't know them already.
Yeah.
And start relying on people with the help of the Lord.
Amen. Marcus.
Well, we talked about how these people coming in are trained in weapons and demolitions and things like that, subversive tech. What we haven't talked about, though, is that most of them have actual, literal, formal occult training as well.
Yeah.
My point is that the war is coming against us. The battle is coming against us at every single level there is. There's the economic warfare. There's the disease warfare. There's the overwhelm the system warfare. But there's also the spiritual warfare. So these are people trained in voodoo, trained in Santeria, and probably a few other things, but at least those two for sure. And they're trained in astral projection and so forth. So the war is at us on all these fronts, and we've shared a lot of things that could be potentially scary. And as we always say, and we'll say on this show too, the purpose is not to be in fear. The purpose is to be what Big John said, be aware of your surroundings. First off, don't put yourself in unnecessary, dangerous situations to begin with, but don't live your whole life shut down in fear. If you value life, my personal opinion is you should be prepared to protect life as an expression of that you value life. That's where I'm coming from, just me personally. So we need to know that. I guess what I want to say is, like, trust your gut and your instinct. Obviously, I'm a Christian, and so I'm going to say, you need to be praying, you need to be seeking God, and pray, God, don't have me be where I shouldn't be, and put me where I should be, and be my safety and my shield and my covering and my protection and all of the rest. But if you're feeling something, like, hey, those guys on the street corner look creepy, okay. But also, if you're in a cafe and there's somebody on the other side of the cafe and they're giving you the stink eye or something like that, it might just, maybe he's on drugs, or maybe he's in a bad mood today. Friends, it might be something beyond that. You might be under spiritual attack in that moment. And so instead of second guessing yourself and withdrawing, you go, oh, that was just my imagination. Oh, I'm overreacting, or are the things that we would tend to do. You go, go ahead and pray in that moment and say, what do I do, God? Do I pray against them? Do I sit here confidently? Do I leave? Do I whatever? So be sensitive, because this is a dynamic thing. There's no one pat answer we can say for all situations. But guess what? God's not surprised. God knows. And you may be under spiritual attack. So we in America, we're not used to Santeria being done left and right. Okay, so we're not savvy to the signs of that. And trust what you feel. Don't second guess yourself to death, and brush up on spiritual warfare at the same time as you're also looking to be safe, looking to be prepared, looking to be vigilant, looking to be informed, and all the whole package.
Exactly. Ernie, final thought?
Wow. I really don't have much to say other than the more eloquent people here in this panel. Only thing I really can say is, the devil is attacking on all fronts frequently and more intense. And that is the beginning of the birth pains that we're going to be experiencing here, as explained in the Holy Scripture. The fact of the matter is that Sunday, I want to tell you the story here. When I was going to church, my wife has been going through some health issues, but through the grace of our Heavenly Father, He has intervened and be able to take control over a lot of those issues, and thankfully she is much better. But the fact that us going into church, I just felt a sense of darkness, something that I haven't felt in a church in many years. Well, the fact that I know it's not coming from the church body as a whole, because their fruits have shown that they are
they've proven themselves to you,
if you will. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But everything could go wrong at service went wrong. And I sat there and I thought about all the stuff that's going on in the world, all the stuff that has been occurring over the past week or so. The devil's hard at work right now because his time is running out. And the most important thing that we can do, first and foremost, as the body of Christ, is to get into that word and put on that whole armor of God. Because the arrows are flying in the air. They're blotting out the sun. We're having spears being thrown at us.
Yeah.
We're seeing our loved ones fall into their graves.
That's right.
Whether it's mentally, physically, or spiritually. People are dropping like flies. We're seeing apostasy growing into God's church more than we have ever witnessed before in our lifetime.
Yeah.
And those who claim to be of the faith and are Christians are denying the signs of the times and saying that God's time is not at hand yet. But in fact, in actuality, it is, because he's pointed it out for us in the Bible, what is going to occur, how it's going to occur, and what's the result of what is going to occur. We're witnessing that here today in the United States. Sodom and Gomorrah is going to fall. I've talked about it a couple of weeks ago with Lori, on the West Coast, and how they are set for God's judgment, especially with all the natural disasters that are occurring in that area. Look to our south. We are getting invaded. This is not people fleeing to greener pastures. This is people taking over that our forefathers have died for. We are in a society where good becomes evil and evil becomes good. We're seeing all types of abominations and pestilences and earthquakes and natural disasters, tornadoes increasing in this country alone. And you look up to the skies and you can see there's something that is resonating within you, that something is not right.
Yeah.
Something is going to happen. And for those who are too oblivious to see what is transpiring, are going to be the ones that will fall with the country. I'm asking my fellow brothers and sisters to rise up, study the word, let God prove to you who he is, and he will show you everything that's going on right now, and he will help you prepare for what's going on, because he has a final resting place for you where there is no more suffering, no more pain, no more hurt, no more turmoil. He has made a place for you. He just wants you to come to him. He created you. He is your father. He is striving for you to accept him so he can love on you like you have never witnessed before in this lifetime. These thousands of people that are coming to our country, they're not here to bring us safe and security. They're here to destroy us. And if we are destroyed for nothing, what is our life worth? God created us for a reason. He has a purpose for us. He gave us a calling from the time that he has developed the earth out of mud. He created us from mud. So he has a reason for us to exist, and that is to glorify him and to show the world who he is. It's time to take a stand, brothers and sisters. Not condoning violence, but it's time for us to fully embrace the body of Christ and go out and seek what he wants us to accomplish, because time is running out.
Absolutely it is. Guys, we're not putting this information out there to fearmonger, to scare you, to anything, but I want you to be aware that there are millions of people coming into this country in the next few days that do not have our best interest at heart. In the next few days, I want to do a show, and I'm going to invite Marcus and John back to talk about how the demons are getting agitated. We're going to start seeing an elevation of crime, pestilence, famine, all of the biblical plagues of the end times. We are going to start seeing, because our country cannot stand the influx of these people. Our economy cannot absorb these people into this country, and we're going to start seeing a rise in violent crimes. And again, these are people, like Marcus said, that are coming into this country who are cult trained, Santeria, all of these voodoo, Luciferians, Satanists. They're all coming into this country, and I believe that we are going to see a rise in the agitation of these demons. And pray up, be safe, watch.
You're going to have to, start rebuking evil out loud. Right. And so right now, we can go through, let's just call these little minor attacks. Like you try to do something, Lori, and all your technology is going down and the internet and connections and the microphone and this, that, and the other thing. Like, why is all this stuff going wrong all of a sudden? Well, that is a form of attack. On the whole, it's a minor attack. I often have things, I take some Ubers. Sometimes like a spirit of contrary or opposition gets into the Uber driver, and I'm trying to help them go, hey, take a left here. Okay, left. And they'll take a right. Like mentally, they think they're complying and they think they're turning left, but what they actually do is turn right. Now, if that happens once, okay, that was a fluke. But if I've had it happen 6-7 times in a row where, no, you need to be in that lane. No, they'll get in the they'll do exactly the opposite. It's a contrary thing. Okay, well, that's a little bit of attack. There's a demon getting in their mind and trying to mess that up. Now, the first level of things is just, oh, come on, you're being dramatic. And da-da-da-da-da. But so listen, what we're saying tonight, because each of us care enough individually that we're trying to warn you. And the bottom line is, Lori just said, this show is basically in one sentence that we are under attack. And we're going to do some follow-up shows of how do we respond to that attack as a Christian, or how do we just respond to it wisely? But you're going to have to confront evil. So in the same way, I'm seeing so many people on Twitter and everybody's asking for prayer and everybody's going into hospital and people are dropping dead left and right. The things I was warning people of 2 years ago, now they're starting to see it. Well, in the same fashion with this show, we're warning you right before this law goes out of effect and the numbers that are pouring into this country go up dramatically. 6 months, 8 months from now, this show is going to be irrelevant. What do I mean by that? I mean, nobody's going to have to tell you that you're under attack because you're going to be seeing it and living it for yourself up front in person. Everybody and their dog is going to know because it's going to be an experience, unfortunately. So what's the point of this show? To know now, to try to take action now, to be mentally tough, to be spiritually prepared now before it happens, even if it's a few days before, a few weeks before. So at some point, everybody's going to know, and it's go, well, that's so obvious. That doesn't need to be said. Well, it needs to be said right now, my friends. So whenever you're listening to this, you take the information, not to just fill your head with information, but go, how do I respond to this? And it's okay to struggle with questions like that. Don't be afraid of struggling with something that you don't have an immediate little pat superficial answer for.
And don't be afraid to put the question that you may have down in our comment section. We'd be more than happy to help you through, answer some of the questions you may have, or you know what, even pray for them.
Yeah, because the demonic spirits are infiltrating
all over.
Everywhere.
So even if you just need a word of prayer, put your name down there, get a hold of one of us. We've been more than happy to pray with you guys. I want to thank everybody on the panel for joining us tonight. We'll be back on Wednesday night with our regular show. Not sure of the topic yet. Probably will have something to do with this. Not sure. Maybe we'll do the, if Marcus is available Wednesday night, maybe we'll do the Demons Are Agitated show. But I'll get with you between now and then, Marcus. I know you're busy. So I want to thank everybody in our chat room. I want to thank all of our moderators as always. And until next time, guys, remember, eyes open, no fear.